Hello, fabulous friends and fans. Welcome to your horoscope for the week of July 27th, 2014. I am your astrologer, Nadiya Shah. Thank you for being here. Well, if you think back to what was taking place last week, certainly an eventful week, and the events are going to continue, but last week, really, there were a lot of shifts over the course of the last 2 weeks. Some people will still be rolling with it. As we start this week, we're carrying the energy of the new moon that took place at the end of last week as well. Also, at the end of last week, Mars moved into a brand new sign after spending a whole lot of time, really unusually long time, in the sign of Libra. And so all of us in some way are starting to experience a shift in energy, a shift in understanding as to what was, and an understanding of how to create momentum to go forward now. And if you are one of those people who's still waiting for that, I would say on the one hand, take action. First and foremost, do something different. And on the other hand, yeah, it might take a couple days for the energy of that new moon and all the things that have changed to really kick in. But as I said last week, and I don't say it lightly, I do think that a lot of people are going to look back at the end, the late part, the last 2 weeks of July, and say that this really was a time when a lot of things started to shift for them. They had a new understanding, a new breakthrough, made decisions, and were able to gain momentum where they had felt stagnated. So if you think back to what was happening last week, and I spoke about this in last week's horoscopes as well, Mercury was doing all kinds of interesting things. And so I want you to think back to what was happening for you in terms of the conversations you were having, the people you were jumping into, that you were bumping into, the types of interactions you were attracting into your life, the topics that were coming up for conversation. What were you feeling that had to be said, but you didn't know how to say it and you didn't know what to do or if you should even say anything? Because now what's going to happen is Venus is going to be having those same types of conversations that Mercury was having last week. And so whereas Mercury is about conversation, it's about random interactions, it's about speaking. And it is about saying what it is that you want to say, having a way to convey that information, and also considering how you're perceiving information as well. Venus is much closer to the heart, of course. She is goddess of love. And so where it was last week that the energy was very much about mind, this week it comes a lot closer to heart. So the week starts with Venus standing across the sky from Pluto. And in a few days later, Venus will have a conversation with Uranus, what astrologers call a square. And this particular conversation is one of motivation and tension as well that helps you identify where it is that you could be taking action. But ultimately, Venus ends up speaking in supreme harmony with Saturn. So last week, if you think back to what was happening last week, chances are there were some words, a conversation that needed to happen, words that needed to be said, connections that needed to be made. Maybe there felt like there were things standing in the way of that, or maybe it was your own stuff that was getting in the way of that. But ultimately, it all led you to have the talks you needed, to speak what it is that you needed, and come to some adult choices as to what truly is best for all concerned, and to move forward on much more solid ground. Now we get to do that where it comes to love. Venus standing across the sky from Pluto, I gotta say, I mean, that really is just on a heart level. That can be a very intense attraction on the one hand. That can also be an attraction that might not always be a good idea. Okay, I'm just going to put that out there as well. But this can also be the type of like just feeling very emotionally in a moment, feeling very emotionally vulnerable as well. And this becomes further emphasized. The surprise quality or the sudden quality of this really amps up with Uranus involved as well. And so this also does speak to a time when I look at this that ultimately this is about truth coming out. And sometimes that truth is just your own feelings and examining your own feelings and understanding what it is that you really want. Sometimes it is really being honest with yourself about what another person is showing you, even if by the time we get you to Venus speaking in harmony with Saturn in the later part of the week, you see things in a more balanced way, at least that really is the point. Wherever it is that maybe you've been having your head a little bit too in the clouds, you may go to the other extreme, being a little bit too pessimistic or being suspicious, before you find your way in the middle and something that is actually a little bit more close to accuracy. With this particular conversation, what I do think is the value here also is that there are intense emotions coming up, vulnerabilities coming up, surprises as well. But we are grateful for them. That's really what it comes down to. When I see Venus speaking in supreme harmony with Saturn, that is ultimately feeling grateful around areas that have to do with matters of heart, that have to do with love, that have to do with relating, with understanding what it is you love and making a real grown-up choice where it comes to love as well. This can also be, I gotta say, for some people out there, and I'll, if it applies to you, I'll talk about it more in the weekly horoscope as we progress in this video. For some of you, this could be the beginning of the week. You're looking at your current situation, whether or not it works for you. And some people will decide that, yes, it works and come to an internal calm about it. Others may decide, no, it isn't really working and may make changes from that place. But very soon, likely to really be grateful for the choice that you made. And sometimes that choice that you made, you're grateful because it makes you available to other people, and there may be a connection with someone a lot more stable and a lot more suitable for the long term. But also sometimes that change is also good because it allows you to feel a sense of self-respect as well. What's also happening this week is Mercury will be moving into the sign of Leo. And when Mercury moves into the sign of Leo, we'll move and meet Jupiter in the sky. And the two planets will be speaking with Mars, newly in a new sign, in the sign of Scorpio. And so when I look at this particular configuration playing out, if you remember, as I said, what Mercury was doing last week, having all these adventurous conversations before coming to an adult decision. So this week, Mercury's energy changes. Mercury steps into a brand new energy, steps into Leo, and starts to make us aware of the blessings that Jupiter can offer. What is good about Jupiter being in the sign of Leo? For those of you still kind of awaiting or hoping to have that appreciation on the level of mind, this really is the time when you start to get that appreciation, where you start to have the right conversations, where you see how the luck is changing or turning, or the blessings are coming in a different area. But as these two planets also speak with Mars, what I really like about this is ultimately Mars is an energy of being true to yourself and exerting your energy from that space and being determined and focused to exert your energy from that space of wholeness and truth. That is when Mars is at its best. And Mars moving through the sign of Scorpio, the Scorpio being the ancient ruling sign, or Mars being the ancient ruling planet of the sign of Scorpio, tends to bring out these more emotional, esoteric qualities, if you will, of Mars, I have found. And so this allows you to have that sense of self-knowledge to say, okay, who am I really? What is it that I really need to do to be myself? It's one thing to say, I got to be myself. Well, what does that mean? How does that look in terms of your solid actions? How would you direct your energy and your attention if you were truly being who you are? Well, this is what this configuration is going to ask us, ultimately, with Mercury and Jupiter together. Speaking with Mars, this is really an opportunity for all of us to say, okay, do I like how my life is going? Do I like how I'm using my energy or not? Am I using my energy in a way that really is encapsulating that I, on the one hand, believe in myself, have faith in my life, have faith in my blessings or not? Am I maximizing my blessings through my actions, or am I getting in the way? These are going to be some key questions that all of us are asking ourselves in some way. What's also really interesting about this configuration is Leo, the sign of Leo, is very much about flash, okay? It's about the bling. And Scorpio the energy of Scorpio is very much about what is real, like the nitty gritty, what people don't want you to see. And it's about finding beauty in that, in the hidden, and getting to the essence of a thing. And so when these planets speak together, it is somewhat of a challenge between these two energies. It is saying, okay, it's one thing to have the bling. That's awesome, right? Pretty things are great. Enjoy them, of course. It's part of life. It's part of the earthly experience. Enjoy what you have. Enjoy what comes forward into your path. And at the same time, this particular energy says, don't get caught up in the illusion. Don't attach a sense of self-worth to those very things. Enjoy the flash and the blitz and the bling that life has to offer, of course. And at the same time, remember what really matters and make sure that you are true to yourself at your very essence as well. And stay connected to not just a sense of truth, but a sense of authenticity that goes to a place where you know what really matters and you know what's really real. And that's going to be part of the ongoing lesson that happens as Mars moves through the sign of Scorpio over the course of this month. But especially this week, we will really find this lesson hitting home. I want to take this moment to answer a viewer question from Faiz Ahmed. And he sent me a message through my website, and he asked about Jupiter moving through Cancer. So Jupiter just finished a year in Cancer, now newly in the sign of Leo. And Faiz Ahmed said to me that he's a Cancer. He expected all these incredible things to happen, but the opposite happened. He actually lost a lot of stuff, and stuff is really not going very well. Well, first of all, a big astro hugs to you. Thank you for your trust in reaching out and letting me know. And I know it's not easy when a person goes through challenges like that, of course. But I gotta say, I am very much of the belief that when we look at things from a short-term perspective, we don't always realize how in the bigger picture things are actually going very, very well for us. And it is often when the universe is trying to create space in our lives for the new to enter, for the wonderful to enter, that we have to let go. We have to understand that there are certain things that need to flow out of our lives. And when we hold on too tightly, we do create pain for ourselves. When Jupiter moves through your sign, as it did for Cancers last year, it was a time of planting seeds, of beginnings. However, it is the beginning. And sometimes it does take a few years once Jupiter starts to square your sign or starts to trine your sign. Now, that's more for astrology students, but let's say once Jupiter gets 3 or 4 signs ahead of yours, 5 signs ahead of yours, that is when you really start to understand how the things that began, sometimes this is the case, sometimes it's not. Sometimes it's instant. It's like, oh, wow, that was a big change. That's awesome. And it happens right away. But sometimes, and especially for Jupiter in Cancer, because Jupiter in Cancer is considered exalted. What that means is it brings out its best qualities, but its best qualities as ancient ruler of Pisces. Pisces as an archetype is an archetype of communion, of release, of allowing the flow, of really merging with all and understanding your connection to everyone and everything, and really having faith. It's also an energy of karmic closures as well. So I did find that those people out there who had strong Cancer placements, Cancer, Sun, Moon, or Rising sign, had endings as well. And maybe you are not yet at that place where you can say, okay, yeah, it's good that that ended, and that's really okay. But I do believe very much that sometimes we don't realize, because we're human, we're not meant to, our perspective is very small in comparison to the grandness of the universe and the love of the universe and the highest plan that may be for our lives. But we don't always realize how actually things are working very much in our favor. I'm also of the belief that sometimes we don't realize what a big shift we've actually made. And I will give you one example. I have a client. She's given me permission to share this story. And I do from time to time share this story, as I have over the years, because to me it just perfectly encapsulated. I remember she said to me that you said Jupiter was going to move through my sign. This was years ago. She said Jupiter was going to move through my sign. You said all this wonderful stuff was going to happen. Well, nothing happened. The only thing that happened was, well, I ended an abusive relationship after 7 years. And I said, oh my God, that's the only thing that happened? That single act changes the trajectory of your life for the better in an infinite number of ways. That single act allows you to create better and good and abundance and prosperity in every area of life. That single act is a supreme act of self-love that the universe can't help but rush forward to meet in every moment thereafter. And so she was so close to it that she didn't recognize that actually what had happened was really good. And so sometimes, yes, people, when Jupiter moves through their sign or Jupiter hits a sensitive point in your chart, it's possible. Losses are certainly possible. Jupiter is not only the ruling planet of Sag, but also of Pisces as well. And so, yes, ultimately it is a blessing. Ultimately, when you look back at your life, as I have no doubt you will look back, you'll realize the blessings that came about at this time were actually really good, but they were disguised as disappointments. And the key here really is non-attachment. It really is about being open and having faith that good things are meant to find you and that your life is indeed moving towards greater love and greater wisdom. If you can stay certain in that, then you will certainly find plenty of evidence for that reveal itself to you more and more. Thank you so much for your viewer questions. So I try to answer some here. I try to create some videos as well. There's been a lot going on and I'm just so grateful for it. Lots of work, so much trust on your part, so many videos that I've been creating. I know that that has caused certain delays as well. And I thank you for your patience and your enthusiasm for what I have to share truly with everything in me. Thank you so much for you being here. I really am so grateful to have this very special moment with you and to be some small part of your sacred journey. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out. Facebook, Twitter, Google+, my website, nadiyashah.com. If you would like me to have a look at your chart, if you have more specific questions to your life, please consider or have a look at personalized horoscopes, see if that feels right to you. But of course, these videos that I put out there and even more right about now, you should notice lots more coming out with this new moon, are really a part of me sharing and hoping that in some way you receive the omen that you are meant to. So how all this wonderful stuff that I spoke to, how it speaks to your sign, if you want to jump ahead to your sign, click on the timestamp below. How it speaks to your sign is coming up right now. Hello, fabulous Aries. Well, your ruling planet, Mars, is in a new sign. Yay. Okay, that's wonderful. Speaking with Mercury and Jupiter this week. So it really is the Jupiter conversation that's a lot more rare and a lot more potent, but Mercury is just adding to the awareness of the potency for you. And right now, Mars is moving through a part of the sky that is asking you to really understand what it is. I mean, this part of the sky is so special because I understand this as the life, death, rebirth cycle. What is it that you need to allow to leave your life if you're really going to allow yourself to shine more brightly, to really rise, and to really soar? What is it that really has served its purpose? This is more of a conscious choice. So in this particular part of the sky, and so a little astro talk here. I don't like to get too technical when I talk in the horoscopes, but the part of the sky that Mars is in right now is making conscious choices towards change. The sign that's just before yours has to do with really karmic endings, choices that you don't have a lot of choice over, endings you don't have a lot of choice over. And so because there's an element of consciousness here, and because both Mercury and Jupiter are so harmoniously placed to you, I do think that there's a connection to self, a connection to what it is that you really need in love, yes, in life, in joy, in happiness, and what it is that needs to change if you're going to move yourself in that direction. I do think that this could also be a time, if you're hoping to have a child, this could be a time when you may feel like you really want to do something and wondering what action you should take. The greatest action you can take is to have faith. Remember, you've got Jupiter in a part of the sky supporting you if you want to have children all year. If you have a child, I do think that this is going to represent a really important moment where you understand what change needs to be made with you. If you're going to be the kind of parent you now want to be, if you're going to have the kind of relationship you want to have with your child. And so this may be sort of you looking at what you've actually been doing and where it's worked and where it hasn't. And now you're ready to make a change if you're going to embrace the whole journey of being a parent more and the lessons and the blessings that come about as a result of that as well. I do think that overall this week is really going to ask you to be honest with you, very deeply honest with you, to consider what makes you happy, to consider what makes you feel more loved in the world, and to live from that place. Hello, fabulous Taurus. Well, your ruling planet Venus, particularly active this week, as I said in the introduction, speaking with Pluto, speaking with Uranus, and with Saturn as well. And I do think that this is an important week for you. It's an important week where it comes to home. It's an important week where it comes to love. It's an important week where it comes to how you understand who you are and the very foundations of your life. The likelihood of you making changes on the home front are strongly indicated this week, and really having an honest examination of where you are, where it comes to what ground it is that you are standing on. Now, I say this because of the conversation that Mercury and Jupiter are going to be having with Mars. And yet, at the same time, as I see these like tough questions related to home and relationships, because ultimately Venus is in a part of the sky that is harmonious to your sign, I do think that ultimately you're having the right conversations and will reach decisions that resonate really well with you. And so it does look like there's relationship adventures taking place this week. However, you are utilizing them well to ask yourself tough questions and to take responsibility where it is yours and to not take it where it is not yours to take. And that really is key, to have that self-awareness of not to take on too much, but to understand where your responsibility actually is. You find that right balance, you're going to find yourself just hitting a very smooth spot where you're making decisions that allow you to feel a sense of affirming of your sense of self-worth and that allow you to feel like you're moving in the direction of greater self-respect. Hello, fabulous Gemini. This week, your ruling planet will be changing signs. So that always represents a shift in energy for you, but also will be meeting Jupiter and speaking with Mars, as I spoke of in the introduction. Now, I look at this placement happening, and I do think that the likelihood of you coming to a deeper understanding as to what it is that you actually have been looking at in your life. And what I mean by that is, I do think that with Mercury having gone retrograde, now Mercury's left shadow about 2 weeks ago, about 10 days ago as you're starting this week, Mercury left shadow, as I spoke about in earlier weeks. And I do think that during that time, there were considerations, there were all things that you were wondering about, mulling over, thinking about what's going to go forward. And you made some choices, which is really great. But now it really comes down to having the clarity to understand how you are better because of the experiences that you went through and what it is that you're going to do now so that your life is different as a result of the experiences that you went through. Mars is moving through a part of the sky that has to do with your daily lived experience. It has to do with what you do day to day as you go about living your life. It also has to do with the workspace as well. And so this to me does suggest key conversations taking place in the workplace that lead you to say to yourself, okay, what is it that I need to do now? What is it that I need to do now to feel stronger? For some of you, this is going to mean having a side project, doing something to start slowly moving in a direction of greater independence where it comes to your finances and where it comes to your work as well. For others of you, this is going to be more of a personal change that takes place. It's going to be, okay, my attitude needs to adjust if I'm going to be in this work environment. And yet, for others of you, I do think if it's work-related, there are going to be those of you who are tempted to say, you know what, I really want to go in a brand new direction. whatever it is that you choose, know that it doesn't look like it comes easily, okay? It looks like you are being mindful of all the implications here. But also know that you do have Jupiter as part of this conversation. So even though it's a tough conversation, Jupiter is there, and it does suggest to me that you have a measure of faith here. You have a measure of understanding as to the direction in which you're meant to go and what it is ultimately that you're meant to do. Stay connected to that and stay connected to faith, and that'll allow you to make choices that are a lot more wiser. Some of you, this energy may play out in the realm of health. What it is that you need to do to take better care of yourself, who it is that you need to communicate with, who it is that you need to connect with in order to make that happen. Well, I will say that right now, if you do anything health related, and especially if it has to do with exercise and changing your exercise routine or adding an exercise routine, you will find yourself getting results really, really quickly and feeling really strong or really fast as well. And so that certainly is blessed. And it looks like you're motivated to take those first steps as well. Hello, fabulous Cancer. Well, Venus moving through your sign, as I've spoken about in the July horoscopes for you, spoken about in the August horoscopes for you, love horoscopes for you as well. Venus moving through your sign is a really interesting vibration, because to me, this does suggest that you know that you're worthy of love, you being open to love, which is so great. Venus being so active in the sky right now. Boy, are you asking yourself some tough questions. Are you facing the reality of where you are right now and how you got here and where it is that you want to go? Now, ultimately, Venus will be speaking in harmony with Saturn. And that to me suggests that you make some choices that are grounded and that are well and that are solid. Stay connected to that energy, because if you can, even in the midst of some tough questions coming up, some tough considerations coming up, if you can stay connected to that energy that you know you will make the right decision, then once you get there, you will find a sense of solidness with that choice that you do make. And there is a level here of you connecting to a sense of self-worth. How is it that where you are is connected to self-worth? Do you have enough? Do you not have enough? If you had sufficient self-worth, if you believed that you were worthy to receive great love, how would your life be different? Would it be different? If you believed you were worthy, how would you act differently as well? Is that in front of you right now? And is it you that needs to change, or is it that it's not in front of you, that you've been telling yourself you have it, but you really don't? This is a week of a lot of honesty on your part with regards to these very questions. And as you embrace these, as you come to understand more deeply just what it is that's happening for you, just how it is that you're learning, just how it is that you're growing, you'll find yourself making a choice that affirms love for you and affirms your faith that you can have love that is really solid and dedicated and long-term. Hello, fabulous Leo. Well, Mercury enters your sign and really brings a sense of awareness as to the new energy that has started to come in as Jupiter entered your sign as well last week, as I spoke about last week as well. And so this is really like the mind turning on. You've had the energy shift happening or trying to happen for you. Some Leos are stepping into this a little bit more slowly than maybe some other Leos are. And yet this week, it's like the lights turn on is really what I'm seeing. It's like you are the house and the lights turn on. And that allows you to really consider who you are where it comes to love, where you are where it comes to life, and what it is that you need to actually do to create a better life for yourself. What actions do you actually need to take? Now, I do think that these questions are really valuable because they seem to get right to the heart of the matter, right to the core of the matter. And you're looking at foundations, which I think is so important. So consider the foundation. Consider where it is you're standing. Consider what it is that needs to happen right now to get you where it is ultimately that you most desire to go. And if you can stay connected on that level, if you can have that appreciation on that level, I think that's going to help you more than anything to move your life positively forward, to move yourself in a positive direction. But now the awareness has to come. So don't, I think about this idea of, they say, don't kill the messenger, right? The messenger sometimes is your own awareness. And sometimes the messenger is other people as well. But that really is key this week for you. Don't kill the messenger, whether it's a voice within you, whether it's a dream, whether it's another person. Because it's not about what the messenger is saying. It is about the message. Be grateful for the message, because the message is trying to get you to be aware of how to really capitalize and make the most of the new energy, this blessing energy that's trying to enter your life right now. Hello, fabulous Virgo. Well, your ruling planet this week is changing signs and entering the sign just before yours, and will then be speaking with Mars. And I look at this and I gotta say, this to me says restlessness, considering the fact that Mercury is meeting Jupiter. It's amped up restlessness. You might not always be able to put your finger on it. However, if you talk, that really is it. That's really the key. When you start feeling a little off center, when you start feeling a little restless, when you start feeling like not so balanced as you'd like to be, it is your signal to have a conversation, to actually do some talking, to actually communicate with other people, because that will affirm the clarity you need, will help you get in touch with your power. And it really is about communications. Now, whether these communications are taking place online or otherwise, it also does look like it is likely that you are going to have some conversation or come across some communication, again, online or otherwise, that can disturb you. That can feel like not right. Something can feel a little off. And it is up to you to decide what meaning you are going to give it. That's really what it comes down to. Learn from it, strive to understand why you feel what you do, but ultimately it's you that ascribes meaning to it. It's you that decides what ultimately the universe is trying to say to you through this stimulus. You could say to yourself, okay, this doesn't have to mean nothing to me, and that's it. You could say to yourself, wow, I'm disturbed. Why is that? And it could be because it's you that needs to affirm something in yourself, or it could be that you need to create distance from another person. But likely it's not about that other person. It's about you getting a message that you need that ultimately is meant to make you stronger and ultimately help you to get some clarity into who you are and what's really going on just underneath the surface for you. And also to help you cleanse some things, help you get some things out that maybe have nothing to do directly with what it is that is being said to you. And so embrace these opportunities, embrace these moments. And I think that this can actually go really well and very much in your favor if you choose it to be so. Also, with your ruling planet entering the sign just before yours, really great time for you to be keeping a dream journal. Really important time for you to be keeping a dream journal. I think that lots of stuff is going to be striving to come to your awareness. And as it does, you will be purified of anything that, especially energetically, is just getting in the way of you really shining and of you really being you. And all this is part of the preparation as Mercury is going to move through the sign just before yours over the next few weeks, just before Mercury enters your sign. All this is part of that preparation, because once Mercury enters your sign later on in the month of August, that's really when a lot of clarity in heart and mind into who you are just really starts to rush forward and really becomes a lot more evident to the people around you as well. So let the shifts happen right now on energetic levels, because you are moving in a great direction. Hello, fabulous Libra. This week, what I really love about what's happening for you this week is that with Venus, your ruling planet, having these different conversations, ultimately, the ultimate conversation that Venus does have is a conversation of power, of self-respect with Saturn. Saturn right now in a long-term cycle in the sign just after yours. And this sign has to do with self-worth. It has to do with asking the universe for what you believe you deserve. And it has to do with, there's an element here playing out that has to do with money, really, just on a very practical level. And so it does look like, as I look at Mercury in the, Venus, your ruling planet Venus, in a part of the sky for you that has to do with career, okay? That has to do with what it is ultimately that you're going for in life, how you understand your life purpose, if you're on that track, if you're not. These are the questions. And the questions are really going to come down to, do you love what you're doing? Are you on a path to love? What value are you bringing in terms of, are you on that path that you're supposed to be? And does it merge with the love that you feel? Now, whether that's romantic love or love for life or love for the activity, love for your work, however you understand that, is love there? And where it isn't, you're going to get really honest with yourself. And where it isn't, you're going to start to align yourself with that in a way that isn't just about dreams and airy-fairy and isn't just about what you hope, but actually is very grounded as well. But actually is very connected to a sense of financial progress. And so there is that connection taking place. So I would say to you, if there seem to be any ups and downs happening where it comes to your career, where it comes to higher ups, where it comes to your work, just flow with it and just understand that this is information that's trying to come through, that's helping you to understand what it is that you want to change, where it comes to how you understand the goals that are worth achieving in your life. Once you have that clarity, you are going to make decisions that put you on a more solid path, not only towards achieving them, but also ensuring that you create greater financial progress for yourself as well, and financial stability for yourself as well. Hello, fabulous Scorpio. Well, it is your ruling planet that gets a signal, if you will, from your ancient ruling planet, rather, that gets a signal from Mercury and Jupiter. And so the conversation that Mars, now moving through your sign, your ancient ruling planet moving through your sign, this particular conversation is more rare than the conversation that Mercury would have with Mars. Having said that, when I look at this particular configuration playing out, and you add to the fact, early in the week, your modern ruling planet, Pluto, is speaking with Venus in a conversation that astrologers call an opposition. So essentially standing across the sky from Venus. I put all this together, and it does suggest to me that really important shifts are happening with you, yes, but it's very likely that other people are playing a part in your understanding, and you're really being triggered into understanding what it is ultimately that you really want to do. And so whereas at the beginning of the week, what you really want to do, it's more a question that's softer. It's more a question of, what do I really want to do in terms of what brings me joy, what brings me happiness, what brings me a sense of pleasure, if you will. And what do you really want to do where it comes to just love and relationships as well. However, once we get you a little bit later in the week, it becomes a little larger. It becomes, what do I really want to do where it comes to my career? What do I really want to do where it comes to what it is ultimately that I believe I'm meant to do? And what action do I need to take in order to support that? And that's really what it comes down to. I do think that Mars is sort of like the pin holding it all together. It really is the PowerPoint for you in the sky this week. And so as I look at Mars and the position of Mars, it does suggest to me that you're ready to take action. You're ready to move forward. You're ready to say, okay, this is the direction I'm going in. This is the direction I want to go in. And gosh darn it, I'm going to do it. And it looks like a part of you, if you've been waiting for permission from some authority figure, from some higher up to do ultimately what it is that you want to do, by the time we get you to the end of the week, it's just not going to be working for you. I think by the time we get you towards the later part of the week, Venus speaking in harmony with Saturn in your sign, you've got the right perspective. You've got the right measured perspective to understand the steps ahead of you, to understand the structures, and yet you've also got the right amount of faith in yourself, in possibilities, and what could be. You've also got the right understanding of what you are capable of and what it is that you desire to demonstrate more of. Stay really connected to that energy. Stay connected to that voice, because it looks like you are making at least one very important, very key decision now that really could change things for you very dramatically where it comes to your career, not only right now, but in the weeks ahead as well. And you're making choices as to just the direction it is that you want your life to go. And from that place of self-knowing and with that determination, absolutely you could find yourself changing the trajectory of the way that things have gone for a very long time towards a whole new direction. Hello, fabulous Sagittarius. This week, your ruling planet will be met by Mercury. And then the two, Mercury and your ruling planet Jupiter together, will be speaking with Mars in a conversation that astrologers call a square, conversation of tension and motivation as well. And this should reach right into the heart of you. And you add to this, as I spoke about in the Jupiter special, you add to this the very harmonious and very personal placement that Jupiter is currently in the sky for you. It only adds to the importance of this moment of your life, of this particular celestial event. I do think as I look at the sky for you that it's almost as if something is under the surface. Something is ready to just be released, if you will, to yourself on the one hand. It's almost like a moment of honesty, I think is the best way to put it. And it might end up being that this is a moment of honesty in front of a lot of people that ends up happening in conversation with another person. But it may also, and the possibility is there that it ends up being a little bit more personal as well. However, having said that, I mean, given that Jupiter and Mercury are in a part of the sky that has to do with being on a bigger stage, given that Mars right now is in the sign just before yours, a part of the sky that has to do with the unconscious, yes, the dream space, yes, so you want to watch your dreams as well, but also has to do with the ways in which we kind of act and behave and we don't always realize it, and maybe it trips us up and maybe it gets in our way of what we think we actually want, or what we are working towards, what we say we want. But ultimately, there is some truth there. There is some unconscious motivation there at play. I can't help but think, I put these together and I can't help but think the likelihood of you saying or doing something probably inappropriate and probably in front of more people than you'd like, but ultimately being glad for it because it gives you the chance to really be honest with yourself as to what it is that you want to do next. That is there. That is possible. Now, given that Mercury is involved and Mercury has a connection to the internet as well, there is that possibility that this can be an online thing that happens. Maybe you end up sharing something, a status message that is more revealing than you intended it to be, a little more personal, or you didn't particularly realize, like a Freudian slip type of situation could be there as well. But ultimately, it is revealing some sort of truth within you. And you get to decide whether or not it is a truth that you want to embrace and carry forward in your life or not. Whether it is a truth that has served its purpose in your life. Now, as I said, this could also play itself out in the dream space. The sign before yours does represent that. And so this would be a really good time to be keeping a dream journal as well, because it is in that realm that you end up revealing some very important truths to yourself, and then may not necessarily have it be that you're sharing in front of the whole planet, in front of the whole world, just what it is that's going on within you. Having said all that, connections that you make right about now, they do seem to have a very strong effect on you. And especially online connections, they seem to reach right into you and have a really transformative effect. And this can be really great. It can be almost like it's shaking you free of stuff you no longer need to carry forward. A few weeks from now, Mars will move into your sign. That'll begin a new cycle for you, a new 2-year cycle for you. And so just before we get you there, this is Mars helping you along to shake yourself of any baggage, any beliefs, anything that gets in the way of you truly owning your power, which is what Mars in your sign is going to be all about. And so welcome this opportunity, embrace this opportunity, and understand that however things transpire now are just part of all that understanding for you. Hello, fabulous Capricorn. This week, what I love for you this week is with Mars placement in the sky for you, I do think that even though Mars is having these challenging conversations with Mercury and Jupiter this week, I do think that this is actually going to end up very much to your advantage. And I say this because Mars is moving through a part of the sky for you that has to do with friendships, that has to do with social connections and groups that you may belong to. And Jupiter and Mercury are moving through a part of the sky that has to do with finances, among other things as well. Knowing that you are cared for. And this to me, when I look at this conversation, this to me suggests that there are going to be opportunities for you to understand that other people are there for you. Now, are you going to accept it? That's really going to be the thing. And that's what I see key here. And the question of whether you're going to accept it is also reflected in the fact that Pluto right now moving through your sign, you start the week with Venus standing across from Pluto in your sign. So you put all this together, and I do think that there's going to be a lot of support there. There are going to be a lot of people there who want to help you. Now, are you going to accept it? Does it feel like you have to ask? Does it feel like too much of an ask? And especially where it comes to finances. So help you, yes, help you emotionally, help you feel cared for. What is it reasonable for you to accept from others? What is it not reasonable for you to accept from others as well? These are going to be up for consideration. These are going to be questions that you're going to be asking yourself, and the universe is going to encourage you to ask yourself as well. But for all that, the willingness on other people's part is there. I do see that. And I do think that as other people are extending themselves, it also comes down to a question of, do I deserve this? Am I worthy of this? That's also an overriding question that I see playing out for you this week. How much are you going to let other people in and be part of your progress, your gains? And how much are you going to hold to yourself? How much are you going to say, no, this is mine and I got to hold true to this? Some of you out there, I do think that given, as I said, on the one hand, we've got the strong financial agreements type of energy taking place. And this energy is speaking with friendship energy. If there's been any sort of financial agreements or joint projects you've been thinking about doing with a friend, this is a time when sort of the holes are revealed. This is a time when you realize what will work and what won't, how the responsibilities need to be divided. And you can actually come to an agreement, of course, but it is going to be about ironing out some of the details to the best of your ability. And I see you actually discussing some of those details. So for those of you who are interested in taking on a project with a friend, this is going to be a time when you're asking the right questions so that you can get both of you really, moving in the right direction towards greater prosperity. However, ultimately, I do have to say, ultimately, it always comes down to trust your intuition, trust yourself. And if there is any money that you're trying to get right about now, you may have to do more paperwork than you thought. You may have to jump through a few more hoops than you thought, but that money is there. And as I spoke about in the Jupiter special, this is really just the start of a very prosperous year for you. Hello, fabulous Aquarius. Well, this week we have in your opposite sign, Mercury moving into your opposite sign, meeting Jupiter, and then both of these planets together speaking with Mars. Now, these are what astrologers call, these placements are taking place in what astrologers call, for you, angular houses to you. And what that means is they tend to be a little bit more strong. They tend to be felt a little bit more acutely. They tend to be a little bit more important in terms of the learning and the lessons and how accessible that energy feels to you. Given this, I do think that the likelihood that love and questions around love are going to be playing an important part for you right now. It looks like there's a desire for you to meet other people, and there's a desire for you to clarify your direction. And what I'm also seeing as part of this is the question that you're asking yourself is, where is this going? Is this going in a larger direction? Is this going in a direction that I see as part of working with my life purpose, my life direction? Where am I right now in love? And is it moving with where I want to go? Is it going to be something that's going to be apart from where I want to go? So you're asking yourself some really important questions, how this person actually fits into the bigger picture of your life. Now, those of you who are in an established bond, these questions are going to be particularly important to you. And it looks like there's likely to be some element of negotiation. The negotiation element is emphasized if you're in a committed relationship so that you can continue to make it work. Those of you who have somebody in your sphere, this really could be make or break moment for you. This really could be the moment when you say, yes, I can see this person walking with me towards the bigger picture, or no. And that really is okay, because with Jupiter in your opposite sign, there is a sense of options right now. And those of you who've had somebody in your sphere but haven't been really letting go or ready to let go, this could be a time when you realize the value in doing just that. When you realize that actually this person isn't fitting in with where I'm going, and while it feels great right now, I got to think more bigger picture, which is what Mars is really going to be asking you to do, to think about your bigger picture for your life purpose, and also your goals, your higher goals, including your career goals as well. The chance of you making some sort of romantic connection with somebody in the career space for some of you out there is possible, but just tread really carefully, because this particular conversation is, as I said, it's a conversation of tension, as I spoke about in the introduction. So you just want to pace yourself and see how it goes before you rush into anything a little bit too quickly. And also watch your interpretations as well, right? Because you may be thinking big picture that this person really could fit in. They may be not thinking that. So you've got to give it just a little bit of a time for that to be made clear to you. Those of you who don't currently have anybody in your sphere, this really is looking at your ultimate, really how you feel about where you're going and where love fits into that. Do you have a belief that you can't accomplish the things you want to if you have a committed relationship? If you had to give energy to a relationship, could you continue to move in a direction that you like where it comes to your relationships? And so be mindful of this, because all of these issues are coming up for you, ultimately for your healing, ultimately for your understanding. For some of you out there, this may not play out romantically, a small percentage of you out there, but it may play out instead in a sense of business, okay, in a sense of your business alliances, business relationships. And so this is going to be your opportunity to decide if this particular connection, in terms of your business future, is actually working. And if it isn't, where it is that maybe you need to have more realistic expectations or more realistic compromises, and where it is maybe that you could just go with the flow a little bit more, trust a little bit more. So these considerations are going to be up there, but at some point, really, one of the big ultimate learnings of Jupiter moving through your opposite sign is, if you're going to experience real progress and partnership, you've got to trust. At some point, you got to surrender. You got to have faith that you've chosen the right person. Now you're going to keep going with it. And so that's going to be part of the learning for you now. And it isn't sort of like the trust that just is very, that leaves you vulnerable necessarily, but it's the trust that you've made the right decision. It's the trust in yourself that you're going to have faith that going forward things will work out well, because they certainly can. Hello, fabulous Pisces. Well, this week, your ancient ruling planet Jupiter will be met in the sky by Mercury and will be speaking with Mars in the sky. And Mars right now in a very harmonious placement to you, in a part of the sky that has to do with vision. It has to do with understanding that you are part of the world and stepping up on a bigger stage, stepping up to the world, allowing yourself to be seen in a bigger way than you have before. And with the position of where Jupiter and Mercury are right now, this is very much in the context of work. So how much does the work you're doing fit into the vision of your life? And how much does the work you're doing actually allow you to share, and where that feels right and where it's challenging you just a little bit too much? So I do think that some of you out there, the likelihood that you are asked to really put yourself out there a lot more for the sake of work and feeling a little uncomfortable by that is there. Now, ultimately, you need to do what you need to do to feel a sense of safety and security as you navigate the world. However, it may actually end up being a really good thing for you. And so if you've had any fear, I mean, I'm reminded of, if you will allow me, one thing I love about my job, among many things, is that it's not about me. It's about you, right? I don't have to talk about myself. And I love that. It's totally about being of service to others. But sometimes you may know I share little personal stories. But I will say that for many years before I started creating videos online, people were telling me, you should create videos online. You need to do more videos online. But I wasn't listening. And largely it was because of my own feelings of safety, my own insecurities as well. And really it was just the constant message, especially from friends and fans out there, that led me to do this, which ended up being very healing for me. And so I actually see something very similar like that playing itself out for a lot of you out there, a lot of Pisceans out there. It may not necessarily be online, it may not necessarily be video, but it's almost as if people are telling you, or some key figure in your life is saying to you, could be a supervisor, saying to you, you need to allow yourself to be seen in a bigger way. You need to step up in a bigger way. Allow yourself to be on a bigger stage as part of your work. And you're not sure how you feel about that. But you're going to have to get clear with yourself. Is it insecurity that makes you unsure? Or is it genuinely feeling like you're meant to do something else? For others of you, it's going to be, as I said, it's much more self-motivated. So some of you, it may be other people sort of saying this within the context of a work. For others of you, you'll see how actually stepping up will be good for your work, but still may feel that resistance. But the action, the determination, the need for you to take action is so strongly indicated. And if you were to not, you would really miss such a great opportunity to grow, to heal, to be better, to be stronger in just about every way, and to make some significant changes to your beliefs about yourself, and especially your beliefs about what you're capable of and just how good you actually are. Because that's what the universe really wants you to see right now. It wants you to see that actually you are becoming quite the expert at what you do. You've got to allow yourself to see that. And the only way you're going to see that is by demonstrating it in front of more and more people. And as more and more people validate that, the more and more sure you will be that you have something great to share. Well, I will stop there. Thank you so much to all signs out there. It'll be a great week. Enjoy.